Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back to the Uncle Sharma channel. Yes, I am back. Took a little break. It's been an intense season. Sometimes other things in life go on. Sometimes you just need a little break. But now, I promise, I'm definitely back. We'll be keeping you entertained throughout the summer with the content, obviously related to Inter mainly. But like today, sometimes I like to venture out and do more general Serie A related content. And today, we're looking at the best player from each Serie A team of this season. So it's a little bit different from what everyone usually does. It would just create the team of the season, of creating from the different teams. You create one team of the season, but I'm gonna look at each team from Serie A, including the teams that got relegated, and find their player of the season using FBref stats. And in general, this season it has been definitely the season where I've watched the most Serie A in my whole life. Like literally, I've tuned in to random matches whenever even Crotone playing or Sampdoria playing, obviously every single Inter match. So I feel like I have a good understanding of the general level of how each team did and standout players for each team. But obviously we can't know everything, and I'll just some of them I'll just have to use some of the stats to help me out, because I have to admit I'm not tuning into every Benevento match out there. But first of all, before we kick off, gotta shout out to my majority of my audience, which is my Interisti brothers from around the world. Scudetto is ours. Finally watching our boys lifting that Scudetto trophy was so good, man. Seeing Samir Handanovic, a guy who suffered so many years through our banter era, to finally lift that trophy as the captain. The likes of Ranocchia, who has been subject of abuse for many years. Danilo D'Ambrosio is also seeing very dark years, and even the people that came in recently, like Big Rom Lukaku. And by the way, the merch, people that have ordered the merch, is being shipped out this week. I've already seen people like my guy Smiley, who received his t-shirt today. So if you've ordered it and you receive it, just send me a picture over, and I'd like to share it with everyone, because it's so nice to see something I've created, and seeing people wearing it. It's just a nice feeling, and hope everyone enjoys wearing it and repping it this summer. So let's get started with the purpose of this video. I'm gonna ignore Inter, because I will make a Inter specific, I like to do that tier ranking for Inter, so I'll be doing that video some point soon. So we'll ignore Inter for this episode. So we'll start off with a team that finished second in the Serie A, which is our cousins, AC Milan. And honestly, there's a few candidates. We know AC Milan massively overachieving, finishing second. I don't think anyone really predicted this kind of performance from them. And fair play to them, they completely deserve. They're beating Atalanta on the last day. They have a few candidates out there for player of the season. Obviously Zlatan, but he only played half of the season due to injury, and his 45-year-old body can't really cope. So it can't be Zlatan, in my opinion. Calabria has definitely been one of the standout players for them, one of the most improved players in this Serie A campaign. Theo Hernandez has been an absolute beast from left back as usual. But I just can't look past Frank the Tank Il Presidente Kessie. This guy is an absolute unit, absolute beast. He just dominates the midfield. Yes, he's got 16 goals this season, and only 2 of them are actually from open play, thanks to the penalty tax this year. 20 penalties for AC Milan this season. Absolutely crazy amount of penalties. But for me, even without the goals, even if let's say he finished the season with 1 goal and 1 assist, I would still be putting Frank Kessie here, because he is the leader of that Milan team when Ibrahimovic isn't there. Ibrahimovic, as I said, the injuries. Kaya has been injured. Romagnoli, who's supposed to be their actual captain, not even part of the team by the end of the season. He's been edged out by Tomori. But Kessie was ever present. He has the most outfield minutes for AC Milan this season. Somehow doesn't get injured. This guy is an absolute machine. Physically, we've seen him. We saw the other match, the last match against Atalanta. Gosens, Romero, who are strong players in the corner flag, trying to get the ball from this guy. Impossible. The size of the legs of this guy, reminds me of Clarence Seedorf. Once this guy plants his legs, you're not moving this guy. He's just a complete midfielder. I've always really liked Kessie. Obviously, he was underachieving for a few years when he first moved from Atalanta. He looked like it was the usual Atalanta / Gasperini tax, where once they move out of that system, it doesn't work out. But there's a video out there where me and Anthony preview Milan derby from about 2 or 3 years ago, and they asked me who I would take from that Milan team, and I said Frank Kessie. And this season he's really shown those levels, and he's probably gone even higher of those levels where I thought he could achieve. So AC Milan for me has to be Frank Kessie player of the season. And as I said, I'll be using FBref stats to back up my decisions. FBref compares the stats between the top 5 leagues from players in that position. So here are Kessie's stats compared to other midfielders in the top 5 leagues. And the higher the percentile, it means, you're on the top 3 or 5 players in Europe in terms of those stats. So you can see goals per 90, penalty kicks, obviously, because of the penalty tax that we talked about. But look at these kind of stats here. Percentage of dribblers tackled, 50.7%. He's in the 99th percentile there. Only dribble pass 0.66 times per match. Touches in the penalty area 2.52. He's up there. Pass completion, he's up there. He just does everything. He gets involved with shot creating action, 0.9 shots that led to another shot attempt. He's involved attacking offensively, but even more defensively, shots blocked. Moving on to Atalanta's player of the season, there's maybe some obvious options there, like Luis Muriel. You guys know how much I like Luis Muriel. He's always been one of my favorite players, even though he's been super inconsistent. Whereas this season he's actually found consistency, mainly off the bench. Best goal per minute ratio in the whole league. But the player I have gone for is actually a defender for Atalanta, which is unusual, and that is Cristian Romero. Cristian Romero, as I pointed out in my Serie A preview at the start of the season, I felt like he was a great buy because he's just a perfect prototype for a Gasperini defender. He didn't have the greatest of seasons at Genoa last year, but you could see this guy was a very aggressive, progressive centre-back, modern defender, which is what Gasperini likes. As we can see from his stats here, he's absolutely crazy numbers. He's a leader in fouls drawn that led to a shot attempt. Goal creating actions, 0.21 goal creating actions for a defender. He's right up there with the best. Jack Robinson apparently is the leader, and he's just underneath them. Pressures, this is the key one. This is really what I expected from Romero, and he's delivered. 16.27 times applying pressure to an opposing player who's receiving or carrying, releasing the ball. We know Atalanta play this high intensity, high pressure game, and off those 16 pressures, 5.78 of them are successful. So he's good at pressuring. He's not just running like a headless chicken. He's one of the leaders in the top 5 leagues for tackles, 2.85, 2.58 interceptions as well. He's right up there with the leaders. Tackles 1, pressures, ball recoveries 12.72, passes blocked. This guy is just an absolute beast. He's just he's so perfect for this Atalanta system, and Atalanta have the option to buy him from Juventus for around 16 to 18 million euros, I believe, and which is an absolute steal. There's rumors of Man United being interested in some of the big teams, quite rightly. He's been definitely one of the best defenders in the Serie A this season, and he's changed the face of Atalanta because they've always been really good attacking wise, but this year they've stepped up a level in terms of conceding less goals than they ever did before, and Cristian Romero is definitely a big reason for that. So that's why he's my Atalanta player of the season. Moving on to Juventus, who just about scraped through to a 4th spot finish. Again, there's probably some obvious player of the year candidates. Obviously Cristiano Ronaldo, capocannoniere of the Serie A, would be the obvious option, but I'm not going for him. Cuadrado, 16 assists this season, and really one of the key creative outlets for this Juventus team. And a lot of the time they literally Cuadrado and inshallah see how Cuadrado can cross it into the box. But the player I have gone for is Federico Chiesa. 13 goals and 10 assists. When he was first signed from Fiorentina, I've always been a big fan of him as a player, but I've never really been a big fan of him as a personality or on a human level. I've always found him quite irritating or annoying character, and I felt like the fee that Juventus were going to pay eventually to Fiorentina, around the 50-60 million mark, was quite expensive. But this guy has just improved a lot quicker than I expected. As I said, 13 goals, 10 assists, one of the absolute leaders for Juventus in terms of goal scoring and creation. but his key stats are the ones where he gets so involved defensively as well. You can see 2.09 tackles per match. He's one of the leaders in terms of other attacking mid and wingers in Europe. 1.9 carries into the penalty area. Big goals, especially this season from Federico Chiesa. Remember that goal against AC Milan, the first match round against the two teams faced each other. He scored against Atalanta in the Coppa Italia final. He scored against Porto in the Champions League as well. He's just been stepping up when other players this season at Juventus haven't been stepping up. So for me, Federico Chiesa is the Juventus player of the season. Moving on to Napoli, who have just got rid of Gennaro Gattuso and has signed for Fiorentina, so good luck to him. Good season overall, really. Depending on how you look at it, obviously missing out on Champions League on that last match, they must be gutting for all Napoli fans. Player of the season wise, there are some options out there as well. Zielinski obviously finishing the season with the 10 goals and 10 assists is definitely one of the most improved player of the Serie A. But the player I've gone for, I think this is probably the obvious option, is Lorenzo Insigne, their top scorer with 19 goals, 10 assists. This guy is just been the absolute leader for Napoli this season. And this has been his best season in a Napoli shirt statistically since he started playing. He's so heavily involved in everything that Napoli do offensively. He has 71 touches per 90 minutes in when Napoli are playing. So Napoli are looking to him all the time. He's receiving the ball all the time, always trying to create something. And they also defensively, Gattuso's got him working hard as well. We've seen him a lot of times helping out Mario Rui, who's not the greatest defensively, with 1.25 interceptions, which is one of the best in the league and in the top 5 leagues. But one of the key stats is 4.62 shot creating actions per match, which is absolutely amazing. 5.14 progressive passes. He's not the youngest. A lot of people mistake him to still be a young player just maybe because of his baby face and his height. But this guy is 28, 29 now. This is the time where we're expecting him to make this jump. And he's made it, and we're hoping that especially Italy fans, we're hoping to see this step up that he's made for Napoli this season, and we see it in an Azzurri shirt. So yeah, for me, Lorenzo Insigne has to be Napoli's player of the season. But also shouts out to the likes of Di Lorenzo and Chucky Lozano, another player that's improved a lot under Gattuso. Moving on to Lazio, and has to be Sergej Milinkovic-Savic for me, the Sergeant. 8 goals, 9 assists. This guy has added that final product that we've been looking from him for many years. We've always known about this guy's potential. We always talk about how inconsistent he is. But funnily enough, now that he's become consistent, this season has been one of the most consistent players, especially for Lazio, but in general. And he's almost seems like he's been talked about less or hyped about less. In the past when he wasn't so consistent, he was always linked with bigger teams, Real Madrid, Man United. But this season, 8 goals, 9 assists. It seems like not many people are talking about him moving, which is probably due to the COVID economy effect. But still quite surprising, because now this guy has added everything to his game. We always knew he had that attacking prowess in his game. His stats from this season, 0.44 goal creating actions per 90, which means that pretty much every other match, one of his actions turns out into a goal. So either an assist or a shot that turns into a goal. 3.17 aerials won per match. So he's that type of Fellaini type of player that he's almost that added bonus into the opposing box, but also in the when you're defending in your own box, when Pepe Reina or Strakosha are launching balls into him from goal kicks. This guy, most of the time, he's gonna bring it down with class, with a beautiful control, with his chest, with his feet. Like, this guy is just so good in the air. You're not gonna beat this guy. But also defensively, Inzaghi's improved them. He's averaging 2 blocks per match, 3.2 touches in the defensive penalty area. So he's become a complete box-to-box player. And for me, he's the Lazio player of the season, ahead of the likes of Acerbi, Immobile, Joaquin Correa, who's also improved with his consistency a little bit more this season as well. But for me, it just has to be SMS. Moving on to the cross-city rivals. If you asked me this question in like January or February, I would have said Henrik Mkhitaryan easily, because this guy was pretty much almost going to be Serie A MVP by January. This guy was scoring and assisting at a crazy rate at the start of the season, which coincided with, Roma's great form at the start of the season. But when this guy's form stopped, Roma's form stopped. So the player I've gone for is a player that I felt like has been more consistent throughout the season. He's the captain of the team. He's been there pretty much the whole season. He hasn't had any injury issues. And that is Lorenzo Pellegrini, who finishes the season with 11 goals and 9 assists. As you can see here from his stats, he's a leader in terms of expected assists. Shot creating actions from his dead balls has been really high, 1.18. Shot creating actions from his shots, 0.28. Shots on target, 4.25 shot creating actions, 2.19 key passes. He's just been, the little ray of hope, even when Roma haven't been playing well. I felt like Pellegrini has been the one who's been stepping up, and he's played in a variety of roles. A lot of the times when Roma were playing the 3-4-2-1, he was one of the players, one of the attacking midfielders behind the striker. But a lot of times he's also stepped back into one of the centre midfield roles when injuries have called for that. And I just feel like he's really stepped up this season. He's been consistent. And with Verratti's injury, he could be, the guy that's called in to step in that midfield role instead of Verratti. So it could be a big summer for Lorenzo Pellegrini. And for me, he's the Roma player of the season. Going to the green and blacks of Sassuolo, one of the obvious options would be Manuel Locatelli, who's had, a breakout year. He's always had talent. He's always been touted to be one of the most talented Italian midfielders. But this season, he's definitely shown that. But he's also had a drop off in the second half of the season, like many players that we'll mention in this list. Couple of injury issues as well, a couple of disciplinary things. So for that reason, I have gone for probably the most obvious option there. The top scorer, the top assister for Sassuolo, their leader at the front, Domenico Berardi. What a baller, man! What a baller! 17 goals, 6 assists. This was the best season of his career. He's become their captain in the absence of Magnanelli and Ciccio Caputo's injury issues this season. He's really, really stepped up, and he looks like he's going to be the Di Natale for this Sassuolo team. Stat-wise, you can see where he's the leader. He's the key, focal point of the Sassuolo attack. He takes 3.67 shots per match. 0.59 goals per 90, very, very good numbers. 5.49 progressive passes, 4.7 shot creating actions. Also does the work defensively, 1.15 interceptions, 0.32 assists, completed long passes, 5.11. He's just, a great attacking outlet for Sassuolo. I feel like he stepped up his game to the next level. And again, like many other players in this list, he could be stepping up to the next level for the Azzurri this summer as part of Mancini's Euro 2021 squad. Moving on to Ranieri Samdoria. This was one of the trickier teams because I felt like there wasn't particularly any standout players from this team. Candreva's done well since he signed from Inter, but he wasn't always particularly a starter in this team due to some differences with Ranieri. Quagliarella, obviously, the top scorer, he's always up there. Keita Balde's done well for them, but again, he's not been a starter. So I want to reward a goalkeeper in this list, and I'm going to reward their number one goalkeeper, Emil Audero, who's not an outstanding guy with like loads of potential, but I felt like when there's been saves that needed to be made, this guy's made them. I've not seen particularly, he's made mistakes, which is normal for keepers, but I've not seen consistent mistakes from him. He's rated quite well by Who Scored and all the rating apps. He's rated quite highly in the Sampdoria squad, and I've always been pretty impressed with him when I've watched Sampdoria. So I'm going to give my Sampdoria player of the season to Emil Audero. And going east towards Verona, Hellas Verona, Ivan Juric's Hellas Verona, I am going for Anthony Barak as the player of the season. One of their signings from the summer. He finished the season with 8 goals, 3 assists, the highest goal scorer, the highest contributor to goals of the season. But apart from that, he just does a great box-to-box role. He's a great physical midfielder that's also been linked to Inter, and I can see why, because he seems like a Conte type of player, gets involved with every part of the game, dominates in the air, 2.10 aerials won per 90, 4.5 progressive passes received. So he is the key attacking outlet for Verona. 8.55 recoveries per 90 as well. So you can see he just gets involved with both sides of the game. Also, honorable mentions to the likes of Di Marco, who ended up being one of the top contributors from defense. He even played as a left centre back for a lot of the season. Zaccagni had a great first 6 months. I think he would have been the standout candidate to be the player of the season, but he had a big drop off in the second half of the season, which was a shame. For Bologna, I've gone with Roberto Soriano. He's one of the underrated players of Serie A. He's quietly gone around and scored 9 goals and 6 assists this season. So he's alongside Barrow, who's the other obvious choice with 8 goals and 8 assists. He's one of the top contributors to Bologna's attacking prowess. But I just feel like, his consistency, he's one of the leaders for that team. He's been there, he's done that. He can play a variety of roles. He was even called up for the Italy national team. I feel like he deserves a bigger club. For Udinese, guys, the answer. Let's say it together at 1, 2, 3. Don Rodrigo De Paul. There's no answer. There's no other right answer. There's no other candidates for the Udinese. It just has to be Rodrigo De Paul. This guy is an absolute monster in terms of goals and assists, obviously, but also every other stat that you could look into. As you can see here, assists, shots, passes into the penalty area, crosses into penalty area, dribbles completed, dribbles attempted, progressive carrying distance. This is one of the things I always bang on about, why I want Rodrigo De Paul in this Inter team, because I feel like these carries, this ball carrying, this dribbling ability from midfield is what would add the next step to this Inter midfield. Key passes from free kicks, shot creating actions, goal creating actions, players dribble past. This guy is just an absolute beast. He just can't. There's just nothing. He's just gone to the next level this season as well. 9 goals, 9 assists. His best ever season, goals and assist wise. He's just one of the best midfielders in Europe right now, guys. There's nothing else to say about Don Rodrigo De Paul. Another easy pick, Fiorentina. Let's say it together. 1, 2, 3. Dusan Vlahovic. And this one is one I am personally proud of, because I called out Vlahovic's explosion a couple of seasons, probably a season too early. I called him out in the 2019-20 season, last season. I thought he was going to explode. I saw a few clips of him. I watched some Fiorentina in the Coppa Italia. So he scored a couple of goals before he even made the step up to the first team. Didn't quite happen last season, but this season he's just exploded. After Erling Haaland, this guy is the best 21-year-old striker you can find out there in the top 5 leagues in Europe. 21 goals, 3 assists, carrying a very poor Fiorentina team on his broad Serbian shoulders at the age of 21. Absolutely crazy. Moving on to Genoa, who've had a bit of an up and down season. Again, it was difficult to pick one for Genoa because I haven't watched them too much this season. Mattia Destro would have been an obvious candidate, their top scorer. Milan Badel has performed well in terms of passing accuracy. He's always been there for them. Goran Pandev, that guy never dies. He still scores important goals for them. But once again, I've decided to reward their goalkeeper Mattia Perin, who's on loan from Juventus. He's too good for a team like Genoa. He should be a little bit higher up in the league. He's always been a talented goalkeeper. Maybe not good enough for Juventus, but definitely good enough to be in one of the top 6-7 sides in Italy. And yeah, this year he's outperformed his XG, the goalkeeper XG, so he's made more saves than he was expected to. He's got a good save percentage. And yeah, whenever I watch Genoa, I felt like he's made some impressive saves, and for me, he's the Genoa player of the season. Cagliari, this was another tricky one because they've had a pretty poor season all round. Cranio, another keeper who probably deserves to be rewarded because, if it wasn't for Cranio, Cagliari would have conceded a lot more goals than they did, which is already a lot of goals. But if without Cranio, it would have been even more. Razvan Marin, and also a very impressive season from him. Even, in that midfield that was struggling, he always stood out to me whenever I watched Cagliari in terms of his dribbling and the neat and tidy passing. But can't look past who was their player of the season last year, and I think should be the player of the season again for them, which is their captain João Pedro. 16 goals. Without his goals, Cagliari getting relegated. Simple as. And once again, he's the top scoring Brazilian in Europe. Another super easy one when we look at Torino. You can say it together one more time, guys. 1, 2, 3. Gallo Belotti. Easy. No other option when it comes to Torino. 13 goals, 6 assists. But he's even, Torino have been so stinky this year. He's had to add, extra level, an extra layer to his game, which I didn't think he had, in terms of carrying the ball, creating chances, creating, assists and carrying the ball, dribbling past people. I didn't think he had, so much in his arsenal, as it shows in the stats. 5.5 progressive carries, 3.4 shot creating actions per 90. He's really, he's been unlucky with some injuries, so I don't think he's going to be starting for Italy at the in the Euros. But he's made improvements to his game, which I think could edge him over Ciro Immobile in the summer. Moving on to Spezia, a surprise package of the season. Definitely I expected them to go relegated, but they didn't. But it was hard to pick a standout from them. Mbala and Zola had a good start to the season. He was their top scorer, but I didn't really see him towards the end of the season. Kevin Agudelo has been interesting. Maggiore has been an interesting player whenever I've watched them. And I've only really started to watch them properly in the second half of the season when I found out that, they play nice football thanks to Vincenzo Italiano. But the player I've gone for is Ricci, the midfielder, the regista, who is the reason why Agume doesn't get into the team, because he's so good. And he's actually got a call up to the Italy national team as well at one point this season. 7 progressive passes completed per 90, 13.8 long passes completed. He's got a very nice right foot. He's a technical player. I enjoy watching him when he plays for Spezia. He's one of the main reasons why they're able to keep the ball and play that nice passing football. So yeah, Matteo Ricci is the player I have gone for Spezia. Moving on to one of the teams that I've definitely watched the least, thanks to Pippo Inzaghi. They have the least amount of average possession in the league. They really play on the counter-attack. They're not a very good team to watch. Benevento. Clear standout for me is Gianluca Caprari, who was an Inter player for a very short period of time. Just on paper, I believe he was part of the Cranio deal, which obviously worked out amazingly for us. But 5 goals, 6 assists, 2.1 dribbles completed, which is quite high for the Serie A. 5.3 carries, 3.78 shot creating actions. He's the main attacking outlet for Benevento. And we'll probably see him stay in the Serie A. I think he's definitely a Serie A level player. For Crotone, another super easy one, guys. Simi. 20 goals, 2 assists. There's nothing more to say. What a player. And obviously another one that should stay in the Serie A. Finally, with the most disappointing team of the season, Parma, I expect them to do a little bit better, and they finished bottom. Very, very poor, very stinky. One standout player for me, Juraj Kucka, the Slovakian. 7 goals, 3 assists, their top contributor. Highest average rating he received from the various rating apps. 3.5 aerials won. He dominates in the air. He's a physical player, wins a lot of fouls. 3.3. And when you watch Parma, he is one of the better players. You can just see it with your eyes. And yeah, so for me, it has to be Juraj Kucka, but there's not many other candidates. It's been a poor season from Parma. And that's it, guys. We made it till the end. Thank you for watching. And obviously I want to know your opinions on which ones do you agree with, disagree with. I can already imagine some of the ones which you probably disagree with, but yeah, let me know in the comments below. This was fun looking at the stats, thinking about the season. As I said, it's been a fun Serie A season, man. It's been one of the most entertaining Serie A seasons in a while. Definitely the best, top 4 race in a long time. I've enjoyed it until the end. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you for being a companion throughout the Serie A season with me, mainly for Inter matches, obviously. But if you're not an Inter fan, I know there's a few guys that continue to support the channel, so I appreciate all of you. Before you go, guys, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll be coming with more Serie A Inter-related content for your head tops very soon. Take care, guys. Ciao. Forza Inter.